I honestly wasn't doing the best job on those restarts. A few of the times, giving up 1-2 spots. And all but that very last one, I'm having to battle for position down into the S's, which is a very tricky area of the racetrack considering track limits and all those things. One bump, one thing goes wrong, you might be getting penalized. So definitely putting ourselves at risk there. So if I have one thing looking at the whole weekend, wish I could have done better, would have been qualifying and just cleaned up those restarts a little bit. So just there is things to learn for sure, but it all went really well. And the last one got off of turn one without any real threats.
Obviously, you were in front of it all, but what are your thoughts on what happened behind you?
I have no idea. I was just focusing on my restarts and what I had going on. Obviously, there was a lot of cautions at the end, but just the way that things kind of have progressed, the front and rear bumpers of this car are really resilient. You can really hit someone pretty hard without knocking the nose of your car off. And the rear bumpers are really tough too. So, we saw that at the Clash, people just being able to go in there and lean on each other front to rear. It kind of brings that to light at the end of these races. But seriously though, you look at turn one here, turn one at Indy Road Course. They're very inviting corners with a lot of room, and it's just a product of restarts and the nature of NASCAR racing and how aggressive all the drivers are. Someone's gonna be on the short end.
I'm curious about how, what is your vibe in the car? Are you nervous? I'm wondering, was your stomach worse today during those last restarts than a week
thankfully,
ago?
I'd had things had returned to normal this morning, of all things, so it was good timing. I'm feeling a lot better. The only thing that that was really on my mind today was just how it kind of hang on. We've been having some issues with the cool shirt plugging in, and unfortunately today, from lap one, we could never get it plugged in. So it was a little bit warm in the car. The shirt got pretty hot, but I was able to hold on to the end, and thankfully we didn't have one last overtime finish. I may have been in trouble.
Well, I guess, are you calm? Is it
at times, certainly. I think before we had all those cautions with 10 to go or whatever, I'd finally gotten back around William. I'd kind of settled in. Definitely hot, but I was, comfortable with the car and everything. But certainly as we kind of got to the end, I gotten warm again. My ice had melted. I was getting a little hot in the car, but I was, by the time we were taking the restart, kind of gotten back to being where my heart rate and calmness needed to be to focus. I wouldn't say nervous. Just the stress was high in the car today, just circumstances. But thankfully not too high. Still able to execute and get the job done. I didn't quite get every restart done perfectly, but we got the ones that mattered, the last one.
Jim Utter, motorsport.com. In regards to the start to your season, Billy and Denny talked about, the bad optics of having it in your points position and so forth, but that you guys felt you still had speed. From your perspective, was it been frustrating, disappointing, or how have you kind of handled the beginning of the year?
It's just racing. Honestly, that's all it was. It's just how racing can be sometimes. You look at what happened, and it wasn't we just flat out sucked this weekend. It wasn't a this or that. It was just circumstances, and some of it was mistakes that were made or things that we could have definitely done better. But they were all things we could learn from, and in the grand scheme of things, when you have the entire year in front of you, it's good to learn from things early in the year so they don't, if it comes later on down the road. I'd rather have these things go wrong early than later on. So for me, it didn't really affect me. And from my perspective in the shop, it didn't seem to be affecting the team. We just kept focusing, okay, next weekend, we're going to bring the best car that we can and start over and go from there. Certainly, there was the only frustration I would say that we had was just when we would have a bad weekend or something go wrong, it'd really screw up our qualifying metric for the following weekend and put us in a tough spot to be able to qualify well and start better. So that was the only part of it that was slightly frustrating, but nothing crazy.
Rob T. Johnson from thepodiumfinish.net. Tyler, congratulations on your victory today. A couple of questions for you. I mean, how validating is this to get this victory for 2311, given how much confidence and belief that Billy and Denny Hamlin had in you, and also too, just how did you kind of handle the emotional side of the intense battles you had today?
Yeah, you just got to remove emotion from your thought. If you're being emotional in a moment, you can't have the mental clarity to get the job done. Just have to remove all that from your brain. As much as, yes, it can be frustrating to have caution after caution, and oh man, I almost made it back to start finish line and it didn't go our way. You just have to remove all that from your brain. It's done and over with, and you got to reset and be ready to go for the next restart, because everybody behind you is, grinding their teeth and doing everything they can to get an edge on you. You can't be feeling bad for yourself. You have to get back to work and execute and just do it again.
Go in the back and then up in the middle here.
Hey Tyler, Trey Campbell here of Sports Talk 790 in Houston. There were obviously a lot of green-white checkered attempts there at the end. Would you be opposed to NASCAR stepping in and limiting the green-white checkers like they did back in '05 when they instituted the rule?
No, we'd be robbing the fans of a finish, and that's what they deserve. They deserve a good finish to the end. They deserve to see us make it back to the white flag, and whatever happens after that, yeah, I think the rule the way it is the way it should be. The fans pay a lot of good money to come out here and watch a good finish, watch a great race. We deserve to put that on there. We deserve to put that product out there for the fans.
Right.
Howdy, Tyler. Wyatt Watson with FrontStretch.com. Congratulations on the win. You were obviously the fastest driver and the fastest car this whole weekend. I want to get your comments on bringing that speed to Toyota, which last year obviously struggled very mightily on the road courses, and just what you'll bring to all the road courses next for the rest of the season, actually.
What was that last part? Sorry about the rest of the road courses?
What talent you're going to bring to the rest of the road courses this year?
What talent? What? I didn't know. Speed. Yeah, hopefully it applies. Obviously, every road course is kind of its own animal. But the braking zones that we have here, there's a lot of time to be made and lost in the braking zones here. And I feel like when you go to Indy road course, some of that similarities apply. Not as much elevation gain or loss. Chicago street course and the layout that it has, being really good in the braking zones and not making mistakes and going wide will be really critical. With the tight corners and the tight narrow confines racing on the street, you miss a braking zone, well, there's nowhere to go. You're going to go into a wall. So things that we were strong with today, hopefully will apply in some ways to those other places. But in no way do we get like super comfortable or content with how we did. We're going to look at how could we be better, what things could we clean up. I definitely could have done some things better on the end of this race on restarts. But certainly to go from where we were at the test in January, the tire test here, how we stacked up against the eight car, Kyle Busch and Austin Cindric in the 2, to make the gains that we did and make our cars better was certainly a really good sign. Obviously, I would love to see all the Toyotas get better, and certainly we're all going to work together and share notes and hopefully get the rest of them up there soon. So good step in the right direction. Like I said, it was a really big point of emphasis for myself coming into here to try and help Toyota get better on the road courses. And yeah, I'd say that was a success.
Go Steven, Dustin, and then wrap up with Bob.
Hi, Tyler. One more question. It seems like a while ago now, but in the middle of the race, towards the end, you and Byron had that battle. You guys were on separate strategies, pitting, making your way back to the lead, and so on. Now that you've seen it in action, what is your opinion on having the no stage cautions at the road courses?
Well, it certainly allows the race to play out more naturally, which I feel like in the spirit of road course racing, in my opinion, that's what it should be more about. We had the natural cautions towards the end there with people having tire failures and issues to bring out cautions to have the exciting green, white, checkered finishes. But, like we saw in the truck race, like we kind of saw in the Xfinity race, I think allowing the race to play out naturally just is To me, it's what road course racing is about. You look at other forms of motorsport that have road course races, not always is there exciting, finish at the end or the stage racing, obviously. So from my perspective, I enjoyed it more this today. It was about maximizing your pace on the racetrack and minimizing the mistakes because depending on what strategy you had, if you made a mistake, if you made a mistake, you're going to be costing yourself track position as the race just played out.
Go ahead, Dustin.
Dustin Albino, J Ski. Tyler, I know this probably seems like a really long time ago, but what was going through your mind early in the race when you made that first pit stop and were mired deep in the field?
Some concern, just the initial first couple of laps. Joey got by, Austin Dillon got by, but, just kind of recentered myself. And I remembered AJ literally, getting stuck behind Eric Almirola yesterday, stopped on the racetrack, and he fought back from it and won. So obviously this is the Cup Series, not the Xfinity Series, but, I looked at how that played out and was like, all right, we can overcome this, we can make it happen. And just for the most part, as the race was playing out before those cautions at the end, it was the right calls, the right strategy, I think. Having a strong car really helps whatever strategy you go with work. But, just with the pace fall off and everything, I think the strategy we were on was going to work out better. But, it was enjoyable for sure.
We'll wrap up here with Bob.
Bob Hockris, Fox Sports. Was it weird and or extra motivating to have the 8 car that you're battling for the win?
Kyle races with a lot of respect. I know he gets a bad rap from a number of fans out there, but pretty much from day one coming into the Cup Series, Kyle and I have raced with really, really well around each other for the last couple of years. I knew he was going to give everything he had, and I knew that team would. But certainly, you heard him talk about it, right? Like just the respect in the garage not being what it used to be. And he's one of the few drivers that certainly really still races with that honor and integrity and wants to, race fair, race hard, race clean. So, I knew he wasn't going to do anything too crazy. There was other cars that lined up behind me throughout the day that I was very concerned about a dive bomb or a bump or something like that. But when you got one of the best in the business behind you and Kyle, you're going to get raced really hard and you have to execute perfectly, but it's going to be really, really clean.